Yes, Ms. Seegers.
Thank you, Chair. General, just before the adjournment, we were going to start a new topic on page 94, which is titled My View on the Disbandment of the Political Killing Stars Team. You can read paragraph 130 and 131.
The establishment, management, and disbandment of task teams is an operational matter. In the DPCI, a policy has been adopted on the subject of task teams. In the same way that the political office bearers are not empowered to establish police task teams, but give policy directions, this issue should be left to the discretion of police management. My view is that each provincial commissioner should exercise discretion on the need of establishing a team or otherwise. Should the national commissioner be of the view that the killings have interprovincial links, he may decide to elevate the status to national level.
Well, you mentioned specifically killings. I suppose the principle applies to any other crime.
It is correct, Commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Then, General, the next topic, unsolicited calls and messages from Mr. Brown Mogotsi.
On the 23rd of July 2025 at 2014, I received a message from the telephone number of 072, reading as follows. Good afternoon, General Brown Mogotsi. At 21:57, he sent the three screenshots of Malcolm X. On 28th July 2025, at 2200 hours, he called and I recognized his number and I did not answer, as I was already aware that he was among those who were mentioned by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. On 30 September 2025 at 17:41, I missed his call. On 6 October 2025 at 19:44 and 21:07, he sent 2 video clips of his interview where he was talking about his membership of the ANC. I was only able to open one and could not open the other. On 22 October 2025, while drafting my statement, I realized that the number is now reflecting to be old school instead of Brown Mogotsi. I have never communicated with him and I do not know him.
So you only identified the number that called you on the 23rd of July as being Brown Mogotsi because he says in the message that he's Brown Mogotsi.
That's correct, Commissioner.
But what you're trying to say is that you don't know as a fact that it was in fact him that was communicating with you.
Yeah, I did not speak to him. I don't know if in fact it's him. It's only the number that reflected Brown Mogotsi.
Okay, thank you. Then the next topic is commentary on page 95, commentary on evidence delivered before the Commission. And here you say at 133, there are some errors in the evidence that has already been presented before the Commission. I'm indicating these errors so that the Commission's report does not erroneously carry the errors. But these are not matters where you have necessarily been implicated. Correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
I'm going to propose that we only deal with a select few, because, for example, some you refer to where General Mkhwanazi in his statement referred to members of the force and you say it should be members of the service. Those kind of things, they're not really material. I would rather just deal with some aspects that you have highlighted that you want to correct that may be of some relevance to the Commission. Are you okay with that approach?
I'm okay, Commissioners.
Okay, so the first is if we go to page 99, paragraph 147 is where you want to deal with a submission that was made by General Mkwanazi. If you can, and that is when you say paragraph 61, page 273 of MK 22, you are referring to an annexure of General Mkwanazi's statement that he prepared before the commission.
That's correct, Commissioner. The submission that despite Lieutenant General Mkwanazi suggesting to General Pierre that a suitable candidate to oversee crime intelligence would be Lieutenant General Masemola, General Pierre refused to listen to reason, is itself wrong because there would have been a recommendation to demote Lieutenant General Masemola from the position of Deputy National Commissioner to position of Divisional Commissioner. A small, close circle of confidence is not always healthy.
Can I just understand what you're saying there, that General Mkwanazi had, in his MK22, indicated that he had suggested to General Pierre, who was the National Commissioner, that General Masemola would be a suitable candidate for the Divisional Commissioner Crime Intelligence. And what you're saying is that that suggestion would have meant that he was recommending that General Masemola be demoted.
Yes, that is my interpretation, because if you were a Lieutenant General appointed as Deputy National Commissioner, is superior to Lieutenant General appointed as Divisional Commissioner. A move from that level is going downwards, is demotion.
And what do you seek to make of the phrase, a small, close circle of confidence is not always healthy? What are you referring to there?
My view is that when we look at appointment, promotion, and the like, we should look broadly at the organization, not only a close circle of individuals, because the organization is big, and the circle of confidence is not always healthy.
I have a small request, if you don't mind. I wanted Dr. Lebeya to clarify paragraph 139.
Which paragraph, sorry, Commissioner?
Page 96, paragraph 139 of the statement. And Dr. Lebeya, what I needed to understand is whether the head of the DPCI reports directly to the Minister of Police and whether they brief the Minister of Police directly as opposed to briefing the National Commissioner who consolidates the reports and briefs the Minister or the ad hoc committee or whoever it is, the person you are reporting to. Can you just clarify that for me? As head of the DPCI, who do you report to and how does it work structurally?
Since the 14th of September 2012, the national head report directly to the minister and no longer the national commissioner as it applied from 2009 to 2012.
So you can have private meetings with the minister where you are briefing him directly. You don't need to go via the National Commissioner of Police.
That is correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then still on page 99, the next subtopic that you have is affidavit of General Masemola. If you could just deal with 148.
General Masemola stated that the national head reports directly to the minister and indirectly to the national commissioner. I have constantly queried the insertion of those dotted lines on the structure. The South African Police Service Act was amended in terms of the South African Police Service Amendment Act 57 of 2008, which made the head of the DPCI to be the Deputy National Commissioner who reports to the National Commissioner. The Act was amended in terms of the South African Police Service Amendment Act 10 of 2012, which made the national head to report directly to the Minister of Police.
Thank you. And then page 100, paragraph 152, you are addressing General Masemola's paragraph 93 on page 29 of his affidavit.
In his testimony, General Masemola indicated that the Hawks were not doing much in the cases at Fort Hare University until the political killings task team went and effected the arrests. The DPCI cases were never handed over to the political killings task team, and those arrests are not relating to cases falling under the mandate of the DPCI. The DPCI's 5 cases
You don't have to read out the
with
case
the
numbers.
reference number have been completed and handed over to the National Prosecuting Authority for decision. On the 17th of March 2023, when I learned that a team would be established and be led by a brigadier from Detective Service Head Office and overseen by Major General Severe as he then was, I expressly directed that the 5 cases with the DPCI should be finalized by the DPCI and information that can assist the detectives be shared. I attach copy of this directive as per Annexures GL 38.
Thank you. Then if we can skip a few pages when we go to page 106, paragraph 159, you're dealing with General Dumisani Kumalo's evidence.
Lieutenant General Dumisan Samuel Kumalo, a veteran who have joined the police in July 1991 when I was a commissioned officer, draws an inference that the Hawks' conduct is a clear obstruction of justice. This is a serious crime against the administration of justice. The crime of defeating or obstructing the course of justice consists in unlawfully and intentionally engaging in a conduct which defeats or obstructs the course of administration of justice. A critical element is intention. The accused must subjectively have foreseen the possibility that his conduct might defeat or obstruct the administration of justice, or the accused must have been aware of the fact that it might thwart or interfere with judicial proceedings which were to take place in the future, or would at least hamper or forestall the investigation of an offense.
160.
Due to the simultaneous running of the commission and the ad hoc committee of parliament, I missed some of the testimonies. I have not heard as to whether Lieutenant General Dumisani Samuel Kumalo testified about his possible visit to the Hammanskraal farm or one of the big 5 and the developments thereof, or confrontation where he felt that his life was in their hands.
Where did you get that information from?
That was a general discussion when we were conversing on our way from an Interpol meeting where there was this indication that at some stage he was confronted and he felt that his life was in danger in handling some of these matters. So I do not have the nitty-gritties, the details of precisely what that meant.
So this was a discussion between you and General Kumalo.
Yeah, and General Masemola and General Severe.
Okay. Thank you. And then 161.
Lieutenant General Dumisan Samuel Khumalo reminds the Commission that in 2012, he was appointed as the acting component head in crime intelligence. When General Masemula, who was a divisional commissioner at Protection and Security Services, was appointed by Lieutenant General Mkwanazi as the acting divisional of crime intelligence, while Lieutenant General Mkwanazi was appointed as the acting national commissioner. Indeed, the trio have been together for a long time, and in some instances, appointing and promoting each other. Furthermore, it is worth noting that Lieutenant General Masemula was appointed by Lieutenant General Mkwanazi to become the Deputy National Commissioner.
162.
Lieutenant General Dumisan Samuel Khumalo testified that he has deliberately excluded the DPCI to protect the investigation against the Hawks because there was information which he received in May 2024 that Captain Zungu of Tom's Hawks is involved. He concludes that, but if it happens that there are targets that are at a particular level in a particular environment that are part of the target, informally and indirectly so, there can be a discussion between, for instance, myself and the head of the DPCI to say, on this project, we will be limiting our briefing as well as our information sharing because we have some of the targets in the space. But that talks to also trust issue between the two principals or amongst the principal in the same space. I now understand why he has never brought information of any serious organized crime or serious corruption to my attention since taking office, and I feel betrayed. It reminds me of an experience where I received a call after 2,100 hours from General Pieka to tell me that I must not be involved in the investigation of the Gupta landing at the Waterkloof Air Force Base. This was based on the assistant I gave to Major General Ramazweli and Lieutenant General, it should not Major General, Lieutenant General Mawela on their request.
The request, were they involved in that investigation?
Yeah, that they requested me to assist them.
Okay. And you saying that General Pieka then told you that you're not involved in that investigation?
That's correct.
Okay. 163.
Lieutenant General Dumisan Samuel Khumalo testified that he was receiving continuous situation reports throughout the operations. He stated that on the day of the takedown, they could not be able to identify the person who called the Hawks, but as the investigation was progressing, they managed to narrow the scope towards the final identification of the caller or who activated the Hawks to be part of the operation against the lawful operation they were conducting. Until the 5th of November 2025, he still has not identified the person who called the Hawks on 6 December 2024. But all their information is pointing towards a Mr. Boym Tetwa, who, according to their investigation, is the one who activated the call.
164.
From May 2024, General Khumalo knew about Captain Philani Zungu, but never brought it to my attention. The evidence led by Captain Wanda, who was the senior during the operation, confirms that he did speak to Brigadier Mugwena of the Hawks through the phone of Mr. Mutetwa, maybe linking that with the information that we had received, that the information of the deployment of the Hawks came from the national head to the divisional commissioner, then to Brigadier Mugwena.
And then the next subtopic, testimony of witness A, and this will relate to the takedown of 6 December 2024 still.
As presented in his testimony before the commission, witness A is a junior member who was in charge of the operation at the Sandest, which is the residence of Mr. Katiso Molefe. While he has joined the police in 2008, at the time when I was in charge of organized crime component in the country, his experience in the organized crime is 3 years. If he was in the middle lane, he should be a warrant officer, and if he is in a slow lane, he may be a constable or a sergeant. I am aware now that he's a warrant officer. He has been elevated to a warrant officer. As it can be seen from the evidence, the identification of this case was not through the crime threat analysis or the OCTA process. It is highly probable that the witness has never initiated an investigation that resulted in the prosecution on organized crime called a pattern of racketeering activity.
In 166 on page 110.
Witness A appreciate the task on 17 April 2024, where he was on duty when he received a call from one of his colleagues that told him that he has gotten an instruction from their commander, Brigadier Hobabe, that they must attend to a crime scene that was active in Bramley. At that time, they did not know what the crime scene was all about. And then he did ask him on the phone to give him more details about the crime scene that they were instructed to attend. His response was that he did not have full details. He was just given instruction that we must go to that crime scene at the address that was given to them at the time, and they will be briefed as they get to the crime scene. He requested him to brief him a little further about what they needed to do, but he said all he has is the address where they need to go and attend, and the number of the person that need to give them full details when they get to the crime scene. They were joined by 2 other colleagues at the crime scene. Surprisingly, witness A seems to doubt the similar response of Hawks on the 6th of December 2024.
Can I just ask this? Following this incident at Mr. Molefe's home, did you and the SAPS, whether the main service, as you refer to it, whether General Kumalo or anyone in particular, did there ever happen a discussion between you as the PCI and them about that day, about what happened on that day?
No, it never happened.
So witness A, when he comes and he testifies here, he would, until that point, when he hears the DPCI witnesses who were at Mr. Mulafa's house, is it fair to say he wouldn't have had an explanation about their presence on that day?
I agree that he shall not have known.
Yes. Thank you.
Just want to follow up, Dr. Lebeya. Since you found out, I do appreciate that when General Mkhwanazi made his statement, I think you had already retired from the Hawks.
That is
on
correct,
6 July,
Commissioner.
yeah. But after this incident, the 6th of December 2024, was there an internal investigation at DPCI to find out what happened on that day? What did the members of the DPCI that went to the Sandhead address do, and what they did when they came back? Or, I don't know, is it an occurrence book or a report, something where the DPCI, independent of what General Mkwanazi said, records what transpired that day, who reacted, why they reacted, and there's a full report that sets that out? Was there ever such a thing?
No, except the note that I have shared coming from the provincial head, which indicated feedback from the members who attended. So that is the only report that came to my attention. I'm not sure in the operational environment, but I was satisfied myself.
I speak from a position of ignorance, please appreciate that. But one would have expected that when the national head of the Hawks dispatches a team to an address, there will either be an inquiry number or something, and arising from that, there would be a formal report to you to say, as per your request, people were dispatched because there was a possibility that the Hawks, somebody was impersonating the Hawks. These are the members who went there, this is what they found when they went there, and this is the outcome or the report of what they found when they got there and why they left. So there's no such a thing.
Because that one is an operational matter.
Yeah.
There in the operational environment, I don't know what they will record there. At times they can record in the pocketbook, and then if the commander is satisfied that there is none issue,
Yeah.
it's false. So you can't be registering files of false activities. So from where I was sitting, I just needed to be satisfied that those are not Hawks impersonators. When the report comes back, I was satisfied with that.
So from where you were sitting, even a phone call was sufficient that it was not people impersonating the Hawks?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you. And then 168.
For identification of the police that were at Sandhurst address, witness A state that they audibly identified themselves as police and also showed the suspect a warrant of arrest, which was signed by a court for the suspects to see that they are police officials. He adds that the members from tactical response team were not wearing full uniform, only marked bulletproof vests. Contrary to the basic training provided, no appointment certificate was produced at any stage. He raises a concern that the members of the DPCI just told them that they are from the DPCI, but he has not verified that. Once more, it is surprising that the members saw it as a challenge that the Hawks were not properly identifying themselves, expecting that he takes it as at face value. But he does not seem to see his own team's failure to identify itself, which triggered the suspicion of being fake Hawks officials.
Is that a fair comment, General? If all that happened is Malcolm X called you and said, these people here say they are from the Hawks, and that's all he says, you're surely not saying that the SAPS officials who were there should have identified themselves to Malcolm X. I mean, you don't know why Malcolm X said that. In fact, you have followed the evidence quite clearly from your discussion here. The SAPS witnesses have denied that they identified themselves to anybody as from the Hawks. That statement there that they failed, it would suggest that you're saying they should have identified themselves to Malcolm X because he's the person that called you. Is that a fair comment to make?
I think that I did not mean in that way, Commissioner. I was saying that when the witness A and his team arrived there, identifying themselves to the people who are in the premises, and Malcolm X is not there. He says that they identified by way of warrant of arrest and verbally saying that we are the police. So it is that identification that I'm referring to, that the members did not identify themselves to the occupant of that house, that we are the police, identify yourself properly. I say that this is not how you have been trained to identify yourself. So I'm saying that now, the same witness, the Hawks members arrives. They say we are from the Hawks. They don't show anything to prove that they are from the Hawks. So he is worried about that. He is not happy with that. He is correct. But he doesn't seem to see also his own approach, that his approach self is wrong. So that is the statement that I was trying to make.
We can leave it at that for now.
Thank you, General. 169.
Witness A states that if you would be driving, doing a certain operation, maybe you find other teams from different components, they are doing their work, you do not interfere with them. It was very unusual. He is missing the point, as that was not the case. The members were called to specifically visit the address and verify the allegation of Hawks officials who are said to be executing an operation.
Thank you. And then the remainder doesn't really deal with the implicating you. And then the next one is the testimony of witness B and the testimony of Warrant Officer Nkosi, where you basically just state what their evidence was. So I'm not going to go over that. Then the next topic, which we had agreed would be noted by the commissioners and taken into consideration, but we're not going to deal with it in detail, which is really the last topic in your statement. It's the effectiveness or failure of oversight bodies affecting the DPCI on page 113, but I do want you to deal with two or three paragraphs where you make certain assertions, not based on the legislation, but on your own experience. So if you could just start with 175. On page 113, paragraph 175.
After careful consideration and analysis of various developments, I conclude that the oversight bodies that are listed below have failed to execute their duties, which contribute to the weakness of the criminal justice system. Recalling that the South African Police Service Amendment Act of 10 of 2012 came into operation on the 14th of September 2012. The implementation process was already in place on the 26th of November 2012. I was assigned to chair the process while being the Deputy National Commissioner of Crime Detection. Copies of the correspondence are attached as per Annexure SGL 41.
You then deal with some of the oversight bodies. The one that I do want you to deal with is the Ministerial Committee in terms of section 17 of the, 17L, is it L?
17I.
I, yes, of the South African Police Service Act. So 175.1, 2, and 3, please.
The Ministerial Committee is established in terms of Section 17I, subsection 3, paragraph A of the South African Police Service Act, which provides that the Ministerial Committee shall meet as regularly as necessary and shall report to Parliament on its activities as part of the annual report of the Directorate. All the ministers who were responsible for police, justice and constitutional development, state security, finance and home affairs for the period 2009 to 2025 have, unfortunately, failed after respective designation by the presidents. The ministers never met. No single annual report was ever produced for 16 years. Although Section 17F, subsection 4, which provided that the National Director of Public Prosecutions must ensure that a dedicated component of prosecutors is available to assist and cooperate with members of the Directorate in concluding its investigation, as well as secondment of persons with specialized skills as and when required, does not directly fall under the ambit of the Ministerial Committee. It could have assisted in terms of Section 17I2, which provides that the Ministerial Committee may determine procedures to coordinate the activities of the Directorate and other relevant government departments or institutions. As the national head of the DPCI, I had already requested the National Prosecuting Authority to dedicate capacity to prosecute cases emanating from the serious corruption investigation of the DPCI, while the National Prosecuting Authority had a different view. I respectively attach a letter from the DPCI dated the 14th of February 2021, as well as a reminder dated the 15th of September 2022 as Annexure SGL 42, and a response from the National Prosecuting Authority dated the 11th of October 2022 as per Annexure SGL 43. Once the Ministerial Committee activated the committee, the deadlock in the finalization of the National Organized Crime Threat Analysis, NISOCTA, that was initiated in 2018, all the new thoughts of initiatives must be deposited into the Organized Crime Subcommittee of the National Priority Crime Operational Committee, established in terms of Section 17J of the South African Police Service Act.
Thank you. And then the Executive Authorities, Minister of Police and Finance, I just want you to deal with 175.4 and 175.4.3.
The Ministers of Police who were responsible for the portfolio of police from 2016 to 2026 have, regardless of several reminders, failed to implement the following provisions.
You mentioned there 17CA, 8, A and B, which deals primarily with remuneration allowance and other terms and conditions of service. And was this whilst you were still in the service? Are you saying that it's still continuing now, that they failed to deal with it?
After my exit from the organization, this is what I say I have referred to the public protector, which public protector have referred to the acting Minister of Police, who shall now follow what the law is saying, which should have been done from 2018. So that is still something that they are attending to, Commissioners.
So when you said 175.4.3 that although you were consulted on 5 November 2018, the process was never concluded. At the time of your retirement, it was never concluded.
That is correct, Commissioners. The law requires that to determine the salary of the deputy national head and the provincial head, the minister must consult with the national head. And that process was done. I was consulted. And then, up until I exited, that process was never finalized and is still not finalized. And obviously, in terms of the new advertisement, looking for the successor, that problem is still going to exist.
Thank you. And then if we can go to page 120, the adequacy of current legislation, policies, and institutional arrangements in preventing such infiltration. And the infiltration you're referring to is infiltration by criminal syndicates.
That's correct, Commissioners.
Okay. Can I ask you to just deal with 177.6 on page 122?
Appreciating that Section 17F read with Section 17J of the South African Police Service provide for collaboration mechanism, the multidisciplinary investigative approach, analysis and prosecutor-guided investigation used by the political task team as advocated to serve as a benchmark has been used for a long time. Such mechanism must just be enhanced in the existing team approaches.
And then 177.7.
Parliament should consider strengthening oversight mechanism to ensure that the laws it passes are implemented.
And then your concluding remarks on the first statement, you can read both paragraphs.
Should additional information come to my attention after submitting the statement, I shall be keen to deal with any aspect that requires my attention. I am one of the embodiments of honesty and integrity. I have executed my policing assignment for over 40 years. I have improved my understanding of the laws that I was to enforce as I grew in the organization from the moment that I was a constable up until my contract came to an end. I have fought criminality within and outside the SAPS. I have not created friends in the criminal world. Although my profession placed me in harm's way, I was provided with a one-day protection after threat assessment. I love this country, and I shall continue in whatever capacity I find myself until my last breath. I call upon the South Africans who are honestly committed to fighting crime to join efforts of ensuring that South Africa join the efforts to fight criminality without fear, favor, or prejudice.
Thank you, General. That's the main statement. We then have to deal with your supplementary, but Commissioner Baloyi has a question for you.
Yes. General, if I can just take you back to 177.5, where you propose an amendment which defines organized crime, and you say there that that is necessary because otherwise there is a confusion about the mandate of different agencies. You're obviously not suggesting an amendment for the sake of it. In practical terms, what has been the consequence of the absence of a definition, or of a uniform definition, if you like, or a uniform understanding, let me say, a uniform understanding of what is organized crime? On the fight against crime, what has it caused?
On the operations itself, it does not make any difference. But in terms of the mandate and the labeling of certain activities, that is where the confusion comes. And when it comes to failure to define, when you segregate which matters need to be investigated by the detectives, which matters need to be investigated by the DPCI, the confusion comes in. And I think that legally speaking, the Supreme Court of Appeal have already addressed this and say that the lack of definition is problematic.
And what I'm trying to get to is whether it has had a practical consequence, as in conflict of the agencies or some crimes that should otherwise be investigated falling between the cracks because there's a misunderstanding or confusion about the definition.
I think that it goes further than that because after failing to define organized crime, if it was only organized crime and then there is one unit that deals with organized crime, there will be no problem. But the moment you create other units dealing with the very same organized crime and you label another as organized crime and another as serious organized crime without defining both, it creates a problem as to what is serious as compared to the normal organized crime. That, when it comes to the mandate, is problematic. You'll find competition.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, General. Can we now go to your supplementary statement, which is in file 4? That runs to page 46, and I just want you to confirm your signature on page 46.
It is my signature, Commissioner.
And you confirm the correctness and truthfulness of the contents of the statement?
I confirm, Commissioners.
Okay. Can we start on page 3 of your page? Actually, we can do page 2 just to orientate us as to what the statement deals with. So you can read paragraph 1. You don't have to read your name again.
In addition to my statement submitted on the 25th of November 2025, I was directed by the Commission on the 16th of July 2026 to provide a further statement within 10 days, calendar days of the notice. The submission deadline was subsequently extended by the Commission's attorneys upon request for such an extension by my attorneys of record to the 5th of August 2026.
At paragraph 2, you then deal with the topics, which we again won't read into the record because we'll cover them as we go along. On page 3, you deal with where it says at paragraph, that is in relation to the Rule 3 notice, correct? That you're responding to.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay. The first topic is your oversight role exercised by me in the Ayrton drug bust of 9 July 2021. We won't read into the record what you were asked to address, but if you could just start then on paragraph 4.
To paint a complete picture of drug seizures that included the consignments under scrutiny, it is worth mentioning that on 22nd August 2022, I made a quarterly public update on the work of the DPCI where I reflected, among others, 6 cases of cocaine weighing 4,442 kilograms. Those were the 706 kilograms of cocaine intercepted at Lebeya on 8 January 2019, the 541 kilograms of cocaine confiscated at Isipingo on 22nd June 2021, the 805 kilograms of cocaine seized at Pretoria on the 2nd of June 2021, the 715 kilograms of cocaine seized at Ireton on the 9th of July 2021, the 1,000 kilograms of cocaine seized at Durban Harbour on 30 July 2021, and the 675 kilograms of cocaine seized in Western Cape on the 4th of August 2022. This issue remains a challenge.
Paragraph 5.
It is a standing practice that when there is a major incident in the province that requires the attention of the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, the provincial head of the DPCI will inform the national head of the DPCI. The provincial heads are well experienced and will execute the task and update the national head where necessary.
6.
In the Ireton matter, Major General Ibrahim Ahmed Kadwa shall have informed me telephonically about the incident. I do not have a record of such communication. As an experienced senior manager, I will expect of him to do whatever is necessary in line with the prescripts of the law. There was no need for me to exercise any oversight role. He never sought any assistance from me. I was comfortable that a senior manager is at the scene, which is what is expected.
Can I just clarify what you're saying in that paragraph? Are you saying he would have informed you, you just don't have a recollection? Or are you saying he did inform you, you just don't have a record of it, but you're saying positively he did inform you?
I cannot recollect that he informed me, but it's a normal practice that he must inform me. I take that he shall have informed me. So I couldn't get the communication records. So, but I expect that he shall have informed me. It's just that I'm not recalling how it was done.
So, my confusion comes from the last sentence where you say he never sought any assistance from me, and I'm prepared to accept that may be, it's consistent with you not remembering whether he called you or not, but then it is the very last sentence where you say, I was comfortable that a senior manager is at the scene, which is what is expected. So that last sentence conveys quite positively that he did inform you and you satisfied yourself that with such a senior person on the scene, you don't need to do more. That's where my confusion comes from, what you're conveying.
Because the statement is being made afterwards, insinuating that it is wrong of a senior manager to be at the scene, I think that may have influenced the insertion of this. So I was comfortable that he should be at the scene. So I'm not recalling the nitty-gritties. But to be at the scene of a crime, that is what I expected.
Okay, it's not clear yet to me if what you're seeking to convey is that even if he did not inform you that there was such a senior person on the scene, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you're conveying, then I understand what you're saying. But if you say, I don't remember, and then you say, but I was comfortable that there's a senior member on the scene, as if you're speaking about the day itself of the incident, that's where my confusion comes from. So it's either he may have informed you, and you don't have a recollection of it, and you leave it at that, and the next sentence is that his presence on the scene, now that I know that he was at the scene, in fact, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm comfortable that there was a senior person at the scene. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to clear.
Yeah, obviously it is my recollection that I do not recollect the nitty-gritties. But I have known about that, and the only person who should have informed me is him from his province.
And you would have known about it on the day itself?
I shall have known about it
Okay.
on the day itself.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Paragraph 7.
I expected that everyone who was involved in that attempt to steal the drugs should be arrested. This included every police official who secretly went there to steal, knowing very well that the kind of operation belonged in the DPCI and that the unit responsible for that jurisdiction will deal with that matter.
You've then attached 13 reports by General Kadwa. What do they relate to? Is it this incident itself?
Yes, it relates to the reporting of the incident, commissioners.
Okay, thank you. Then the next topic, my interactions with Lieutenant Colonel Maluleke.
Maybe before you do that, we know General Kadwa was there, and I think other Sekgobela and other people who are DPCI. So where do we land in terms of mandate? Should DPCI have been responsible and taken over this operation? When they got to the scene, we know there were 3 people who were accompanying this consignment. In the end, they get arrested, 3 or 4. Should DPCI have taken this operation on when your people arrived there?
That's correct. They should have taken it on.
They should have taken it on.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's the question I asked you earlier, Dr. Lebeya, that the evidence we had was that drug trafficking is a Schedule 3 or a Level 3 offense, and therefore it resides within the mandate of DPCI. So DPCI should have been called. Is that how you understand the mandate of DPCI as well?
It is the labeling commissioner of Schedule 3.
I can't remember if it's Schedule 3 or
Level 3.
but there's a 3 there.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, in terms of the mandate that I attached in the documents, is Level 3.
Level 3,
Yes, once it is Level 3, the issue of those kind of dealing in drugs, that huge consignment, is the responsibility
Of the DPCI.
the DPCI. It is for that reason that in the province of Gauteng, the head of organized crime in the detective service, which was by then Brigadier Shibiri, has indicated that it is the responsibility of the DPCI.
In fact, we have his affidavit where he says that.
That's correct,
Yes.
Commissioner.
Thank you. General, we can deal with that topic, my interactions with Maluleke.
The submission by Lieutenant Colonel Risimati Maluleke that he visited me on the day of the operation, which happened on the 9th of July, 2021 in Ireton, is not true. In fact, he met me on the 13th of July, 2021, which was a Tuesday. It is correct that I made notes of what he was saying. He indicated that there was 1,000 kgs of cocaine, and that in the next 2 days, it was 805 kgs. It appears that he confused the 805 kgs of the consignment that was seized on the 2nd of June 2021, as indicated above, with the Ireton cargo. He indicated further that only police who escorted were arrested. He pointed out that General Khan's information led to the arrest, and that the members were to appear yesterday, but that day was meaning Monday, the 12th of July, 2021, at 1500 hours. And Major General Kadwa asked the senior public prosecutor to place the case on the roll but senior public prosecutor refused. He concluded that members were not happy.
10.
He is correct to state that I did not go back to him. There was no indication from his side that I should come back to him. And I had to use my discretion to handle the information.
Then on page 6, the next topic is the investigations by IPID. You can read until I indicate that we're skipping that paragraph.
Lieutenant Colonel Risimati Maluleke, who advised Howden Traffic Police Chief Inspector Samuel Tsiane Mashaba, Chief Mashaba, Warrant Officer Marumo Joseph Mahani, Warrant Officer Mahani, and Warrant Officer Boyce Chief Pagula, Warrant Officer Pagula, to report a case of defeating the ends of justice, has considered that the officers did not defeat the ends of justice. He has also noted that Chief Mashaba and Warrant Officer Mahani misrepresented themselves as crime intelligence officials, which is defeating the ends of justice. The reporting of a case against the members who arrested those who were not supposed to be at the drug bust was designed to defeat the ends of justice. As a result, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate has wasted its precious time and taxpayers' money pursuing a non-existent crime. It is unfortunate that the issue was only uncovered by the Commission on examining Lieutenant Colonel Risimati Maluleke, who admitted that there was no defeating the ends of justice. Assistant Director Takalani Zeldama Posho, Assistant Director Maposho, was investigating a non-existent case and did not verify the veracity of the allegations, as her view was that she does not investigate her complainants. During her evidence, she still labored under the misconception that General Khan from crime intelligence is not supposed to be there and that her complainants are supposed to be there. If she had listened to the turnabout of Lieutenant Colonel Risimati Maluleke, she would withdraw her misdirected perception as his trick of advancing Pretoria Inquiry 6 of 8, 2020 did not work. Assistant Director Maposho.
You can skip that paragraph. Can you go to 14?
I became aware of the investigation by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, a letter which shows to have been drafted on the 5th of October 2021 and signed on by the Executive Director on the 17th of November 2021, was received by my office on 24 November 2021. The same letter shows to have been signed by the Executive Director on the 18th of November 2021, which accompanied the report, was sent to the SAPS on 27 June 2024. The letter concludes with paragraph 8 stating, "It is against this background that we request General's intervention on this matter as the continued delay in obtaining copies of this docket hampers service delivery."
And then the next topic, if I could just ask you to summarize your involvement in the alleged refusal to provide documents in contravention of Section 9 of IPID Act.
Thank you, Commissioners. I have not refused to assist the IPAD. The IPAD have gone to the provincial office which have got custody of these documents that they needed. They shall have served the necessary papers. in my office, they needed intervention to ensure that they get those, not to ask them from me, who did not have custody of those. We have set with management of IPAD, the seniors too, the witness. We agreed that because these are counter investigations and that the final decision will be made by the NPA, let the IPAD complete the investigation without taking the statement from this side, putting on the other. And the DPCI investigate its side, complete this, and both matters taken to the NPA to make a decision. So that was the agreement. I have never refused to assist the IPAD. There are many instances where I have assisted the IPAD. So that is the summary of my position. Thanks, Commissioner.
Just understand, the DPCI was investigating who and for what? And is it a criminal investigation or a disciplinary investigation?
The DPCI was investigating criminal investigation of these people who are involved in this drug trafficking. Those people, when they were released from custody, they went to report cases against those members of the DPCI who are investigating them. So it's counter charges.
Thank you. Then the next topic on page 9, my response to IPAD's findings and recommendations.
On 27 June 2024, a report from IPAD in terms of Section 30 of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate Act 1 of 2011 was received by the South African Police Service, which requested that we institute disciplinary process. The report reached the DPCI on the 19th of July 2024. On the 22nd of July 2024, I responded to the IPAD informing it that the DPCI has received the report from Human Resource Management and it is being studied. The SAPS intended to institute expeditious process which is usually used where dismissal is envisaged. I advise the SAPS that the DPCI shall institute its own disciplinary process in line with the SAPS Act and regulations. In its recommendations, the IPAD coined its statement as follows. Based on the above information contained in the case docket, IPAD recommends that disciplinary steps must be taken against individuals.
And then the next topic on page 10 deals with the appointment of Major General Gerber and response to findings. If maybe there you could also just summarize why Major General Gerber was appointed, what was the tasking, and your response to the findings.
Thank you, Commissioners. Since the DPCI came into place, it is expected that the DPCI shall initiate and conclude disciplinary process within the DPCI. So whenever a member of the DPCI is involved, it means that it shall be dealt with in. Based on the level of the individual, which is a Major General, I had to find somebody higher on the level of Major General and higher to conduct the investigation. Based on that, I appointed Major General Gerber, which I thought is independent in another province, to conduct the investigation and to provide me with feedback with the recommendation as to what should happen. So normally what you do is that You don't start the investigation before you give notice to the affected parties. So when I did that, I issued the notices to all of them. And then when he concluded the investigation, he brought back the report. And then after studying that, I make a decision based on what is contained in the report as well as the recommendation. Thank you, Commissioners.
And the recommendation was that there be no disciplinary action taken against the DPCI members,
That is correct, Commissioners.
which decision you implemented. You then made a decision based on that recommendation.
I made a decision based on that recommendation.
Then the next topic on page 11, you deal with further meetings with Lieutenant Colonel Resemate Maluleke.
It may be helpful.
Before you deal with this, can you tell us why you giving us this, were you asked for additional further meetings, whether you had further meetings with him, or is it just something that you think will be of benefit to the Commission?
The practices of the kennel is something that I needed to bring to the attention of the Commission, that we may be dealing with the Ireton matter, but is this the first and the last? So I thought that sharing this with the Commission may help to understand the practices.
Thank you. You may proceed.
It may be helpful for the Commission to be appraised of certain aspects that Lieutenant Colonel Resemate Maluleke may not have expanded in his evidence. Over and above what he stated, he conducted a drugs operation at pharmaceutical company in Boksburg on the 23rd of March 2013 under Pretoria Inquiry 12th of September 2012. He opened a case of defeating the ends of justice against the police official under Boksburg case 281 of August 2013. He was charged criminally under Boksburg case 262 of 10 2013, which he was later acquitted and disciplined departmentally. On the 5th of July 2017, he was dismissed from the SAPS DPCR, and his appeal failed on the 24th of October 2017. After arbitration process, he was reinstated on the 2nd of December 2019. I'm attaching disciplinary file, which is Annexa SGL 48.
Then at paragraph 26, if I could ask you to start reading it from the second sentence, please. I have checked my notes.
I have checked my notes and noted that I also met him on the 8th of April 2022, where he was complaining about DPCI Gauteng and the Tom's head office. His complaint included the fact that he has been a lieutenant colonel since the 1st of July 2009, which is the rank that he was translated into when he came from the Directorate for Special Operation DSO Scorpions.
27 and 28.
It is worth mentioning that on 28th of November 2022, an unpleasant event took place at Boschkop policing area where one of the members of the SAPS sustained serious injuries by fellow colleagues. Part of the role players included members from K9 Flying Squad and Serious Organized Crime Pretoria under Lieutenant Colonel Resemate Maluleke. He was accompanied by Sergeants Masuma and Mugwevo. Lieutenant Colonel Resemate Maluleke, who was to take over the scene, indicated that they were handling inquiry Pretoria Central 5 of October 2022 of drugs that were supposed to come into the country. The issue of arresting generals for defeating the ends of justice was raised in paragraph 9 of his statement. A similar incident occurred at Mabulu Hall on the 27th of January 2023, where it was alleged that Lieutenant Colonel Risimati Malulek from DPCI head office was there attending to illegal cigarettes. I attached copies of Mabulu Hall investigation and Bosch Corp investigation reports signed by Major General Governor Brigadier Alexander, Brigadier Malabile, Brigadier Mugoka, Brigadier Chambriel, and Brigadier Madlabe, respectively, as per Annexure 49.
Then on page 13, investigation of complaint by DPCI Integrity and Risk Office. Can you just give us context before you read this?
On the other side, the DPCI have got a complaint office, so that complaint office also conducted this investigation, and then they made a recommendation after the conclusion, which they finalized.
Thank you. You may proceed, paragraph 29.
Paragraph?
29.
Should I read paragraph 29?
If you feel that the summary that you've given was fine, we can continue to your knowledge and involvement in the Sun City operation. And before you read paragraph 31, or I would ask you to summarize 31 to 35, if you could tell us what is the Sun City operation.
Sun City operation is where members from the Tom's head office went to the Northwest Province to go and conduct an operation in the Northwest Province without informing the Northwest structures. So we only picked it up when we saw a message on the WhatsApp group that there are some successes coming from the Hawks, and this is serious, that require public attention. And as I have to account on the activities of the DPCI, I needed to be understanding what operation is this, and this number of suspects who have been arrested with firearms, did they just hand themselves over? Something does not sound right. So that is how it came to my attention, which needed to be looked at. And again, I had to assign the officials to follow on this, starting with their commander at head office and the provincial office. So that is what Sun City is all about, that operation by head office in the province without informing the province where the firearms were confiscated.
When you say without informing the province, do you mean provincial hawks or provincial subs? Who is the province that you are referring to?
If it is a matter that resort under the mandate of the DPCI, they should inform the provincial head of the DPCI so that it's not surprised.
So not subs, DPCI?
Yeah, if it is a matter of the DPCI, informing the DPCI is sufficient, because the DPCI will talk to his colleagues there in the province in case there is confusion as to whether members are doing the operation. Generally, they might even ask support from the province, additional personnel.
In this case, you mean they didn't inform the provincial DPCI head?
That is correct.
Okay. And at this time, who was the head of TOMS, the national head of TOMS?
The head of TOMS was a brigadier who retired before. Brigadier Mugwena came in.
Okay, so it was someone before Brigadier Mugwena?
Yeah, it was another brigadier.
Okay, that's sufficient for now. It's all right.
And who was the head of...
Brigadier Smith, sorry for Brigadier Smith.
Thank you.
Who was the head of DPCI Northwest?
The head of DPCI in the Northwest was Major General Mboto.
At the time of the Sun City operation?
At the time of that Sun City operation.
So if I could deal with it then on this basis, because in your paragraphs 31 to 35, you're going to detail about aspects which don't really cover or go outside of what you were asked to answer, and maybe we can deal with your answers directly. So in the notice, you were asked whether you contacted the officer in charge to inquire about the arrest and the seizure of the firearms. Do you want to respond to that directly?
May you repeat that question?
If you go to page 13 of your statement, you've copied and pasted the questions that the commission has asked you to answer regarding the Sun City matter.
Yes.
You see that? And 7.1, you were asked about your knowledge of the operation and the extent of your involvement, which you've dealt with. 7.2, whether you contacted the officer in charge to inquire about the arrest and the seizure of firearms.
That's correct, Commissioners. After checking with those at national level, Brigadier Smith and General Mboto, and they were not able to provide clearer answers, I needed to speak to the person in charge of the operation. So I tried to call him. He did not answer at the time, but I have noted that he have indicated in his testimony that he spoke to me. My phone is not reflecting the communication, but what he is stating is correct, that I shall have talked to him to understand what they have been doing, the nature of the operation and the like. So I spoke to him.
So we know what the purpose of the call was. The next on 7.3, did you give him any instructions? And if so, what were they?
I did not give him instructions. I needed to be understanding precisely the nature of the incident. So if I had to give the instruction, I was going to give to his seniors, not the member on in the operational level, at the operational level.
Okay, then at 7.4 on page 14, whether you attempted to instruct the suspects or seized weapons be released without following proper protocols, including submitting the firearms for ballistic analysis.
I will not have instructed him to release the firearm. I just needed to be understanding the nature of the operation. The release of the firearms and the like, and the release of the suspect have got a particular process to follow, which they must complete certain forms and be convinced that there is a need to release the suspect. I can't give the instruction from head office.
And how would that instruction have flowed down? So let's assume you did give an instruction, but not to him directly, but that was an instruction. Would you give that instruction to General Mboto?
I agreed with him when he felt that they should release the suspect after investigation, not during that night, because there was a lot of investigation that they needed to be doing before they placed the matter on the court roll, which included the recalling of those members from the Hawks head office who did not make the statements. They only allowed one person to make a statement arresting that number of suspects, more than 10. So they needed to close the gaps so that the case can be placed on the roll and not withdrawn.
So the decision was made by General Mboto, and he discussed it with you before he implemented it or after?
Before he implemented it.
To seek your agreement or just to notify you?
To notify me, and then I agreed, because it was going to be an embarrassment.
Could he have done it without your agreement, so just notify you and still continue even if you didn't agree?
Yeah, he could have done it, because he is responsible for the Hawks in that province. It means that he shall have been convinced by what he is available in the docket, whether these people should be charged or released.
And he discussed that with you, what his view was and what he was basing his view on?
That's correct.
Okay. And you were satisfied, independent of what his view was, what you heard about the facts, you were satisfied on that the decision that he had recommended or that he was going to execute was the right one?
I was satisfied because those firearms came out that no, they were not illegal firearms as expected. They have gone to the extent of getting the licenses for those firearms. Initially, Maluleke was saying that one firearm seems to be coming positive, but even that firearm, a pistol, seems to have been a wrong one that was reflecting Boksburg case. So the allegations that they were having were not making sense. And it was the responsibility of the investigation team to deal with that with the NPA and see if they are placing that matter on the court roll or not. So I was satisfied with the information that they provided me that it is not, as they suggested, what we should be worried about, that illegal individuals are carrying these huge rifles.
And then 7.5 on page 14, you were asked about your relationship with, knowledge of, or interactions with Mpopowe, if any, and her role or interest in the matter. Before you deal with that, can you tell us who is Mpopowe?
This is one of the witnesses in that docket who seems to be the owner of the mine that these people were guarding, the security were guarding. I think that she might also be I'm not sure how she's associated with the security company, but she seems to be the owner of the mine whose affidavit is in the docket, which explains how she have been dealing with that matter of people who are trespassing at the mine and the like. So you could see that this is a dispute over a mine, is not necessarily what the people were talking about. I do not know her, and then I saw that I had a message from her some few days after the operation, which explained the involvement of the police, also accusing the Hawks that these Hawks members are actually part of the problem makers. Some of them own mines there. So that is the allegation that she was advancing. I again sent that message to the provincial head. So I don't know her.
Okay, I think then we can skip to paragraph 80 on page 25. Because you would have covered everything here. We can deal with it in more detail when we address cross-examination, because you've dealt with your interactions with General Mboto and all of that in those pages. But 25 is where you then address the allegations by Lieutenant Colonel Maluleke. So, paragraph 80.
I deny that I have given Lieutenant Colonel Resimati Maluleke any instructions in this matter, taking into account that I was not aware of the operation until I was informed about the arrest. I need to point out further that Lieutenant Colonel Resimati Maluleke is based at head office, and standing practice requires that he ought to have informed the provincial authorities in the Northwest prior to the commencement of the operation. In cases where such was not feasible, he ought to have informed his head office superiors.
And 81 and 82?
When I exited the office on the 31st of May 2025, the case was not yet finalized, as it was serving between the prosecutor and the investigator. As on the 21st of July 2026, the case docket appears to be still open. I have noted that Lieutenant Colonel Resimati Maluleke testified that he reported the matter to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee Honorable Ian Cameron, MP. As a senior officer, I would have expected him to report the matter to the DPCI judge.
And then you've provided the report on the investigation.
That is correct, Commissioners.
Okay, then if we can deal with the next topic, page 26, the 541 kilograms cocaine at Port Shepstone, KwaZulu-Natal. And if we could adopt the same approach, because you do deal with matters that are not necessarily within your knowledge, but you rely on documents. I first want to just explore with you and get your version on your personal involvement in the 541 kg. So when did you first become aware that there was a seizure of the cocaine?
I shall have become aware on the day of the seizure, as that is a practice that when this kind of seizures happen, they shall inform us. So they will inform me, and then thereafter they will share with other members of the DPCI management on the WhatsApp group. So I shall have known on the day of the seizure.
And is it General Senona who would have informed you?
It is General Senona who shall have informed me.
Okay. Do you recall whether he would have told you about the team that had executed the bust, or any details about the actual operation itself, or just that they were successfully seized?
No, you will not have briefed me about the details, the nitty-gritties. It shall just say that members in KwaZulu-Natal, so I will not expect him to tell me what the details of the members who were involved. Those he will deal with in the province.
And then what do you then know personally about where the drugs were going to be stored and the efforts that were made to try and store the drugs before it was taken to the Port Shepstone DPCI offices?
I was not alerted where they will be storing, but if my memory serves me correctly, there was time when there was a need to transport the drugs to Cape Town, either escorting them by helicopter and the like. I can't recall the nitty-gritties, but I didn't know precisely where they were going to store the drugs, because there was a problem of the laboratory where they must be taken to in KwaZulu-Natal, and which means that normally is supposed to be a station or wherever they can be safely stored.
So on the day of the bust, General Senona didn't have a discussion with you about the fact that they were having difficulty finding a storage place for the drugs, and a decision had been taken that it's going to be stored at the DPCI Port Shepstone offices. You were not aware of that?
I'm not recalling that he raised the issue of difficulty of storing the drugs.
But when did you first become aware that the drugs were stored or going to be stored at Port Shepstone DPCI offices?
Really, I shall say that from the moment that the drugs were stolen, I became aware that they are stored at the Port Shepstone. But I'm not certain, I can't recollect that, or precisely when did I become aware. Because the same storage, I think previously they shall have stored the drugs that we seized in one of the clandestine laboratory in KwaZulu-Natal.
Okay, so what you're saying is your involvement really starts when the drugs are stolen?
Yes, that is when I closely have to look at this. How can this happen?
Okay, can you tell us how you were informed that it was stolen? Who told you? And what did you do?
General Senona informed me on the day that the drugs were stolen, the day that they discovered that the drugs were stolen. And I immediately assigned my deputy, Lieutenant General Musikili at the time, to go and attend and fact-finding precisely what have happened and bring back a report. And That is what I have done.
Okay, then I think that takes us to 87 on page 27. You say, I directed the component head of serious organized crime to attend the crime scene, the criminal investigation. Who was that component head?
The component head of the serious organized crime at the time was Major General Kana.
Okay, and you say on 1 December, based on that directive, he established a task team led by a senior officer to attend.
That's
Paragraph
correct.
87.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay. So was that to investigate whether DPCI officers were involved, or was it to investigate the theft itself?
We investigate the theft in itself, whether DPCI members are involved or whoever is involved, the theft as a whole.
Okay, and then you can continue from paragraph 88.
On 24 January 2022, Lieutenant General Musigiri provided a report to me for the purpose of appraising me regarding the housebreaking and theft. In the report, she attached the report of Major General Lebeya Senona. In paragraph 2.2.10, she indicated as follows.
You don't have to read that. I think the point being made there is that they were looking into the investigation, and you can then go to 89. In the report?
In the report, Lieutenant General Musigiri reflects 8 burglaries that have happened between 2011 and 2025. She expressed her view in paragraph 5.1, where she stated,
Yes, you can read that.
it is the view of the Deputy National Head that theft of exhibits within the DPCI offices embarrassed the Directorate and the country in general, and left a huge blow on the trust that the public have towards this allied crime-fighting unit. Communities expect accountability, and where there is wrongdoing, there should be corrective measures. Precise and appropriate action in this regard is critical, as it impacts directly on the department's constitutional obligations.
And then at 90, I think this is the important aspect of the report, because certain recommendations are made and you deal with them in there. You don't have to read the recommendations, we know what they were, but you say these recommendations by General Musigiri should be looked at holistically, and then you deal at paragraph 29 with that. Page 29, paragraph 91. You can read that.
On attending to the progress report on 28 January 2022, I instructed the Deputy National Head to discuss paragraph 6. The discussion was intended to unpack the recommendations with the prevailing circumstances. This includes the fact that the appointment of a functionary must be intended for a specified member, upon whom notice must be given before investigation starts, as provided for in terms of Regulation 8, Sub-Regulation 1 of the South African Police Service Discipline Regulations of 2016. There were reports on the challenges of security of Hawks offices, including the same head office that we were sitting in. We have Miss Office at the Hawks, which should be engaged before a decision is made. We would have to clarify progress report from the provincial head, as she could have directed him to provide in the same way that she directed him to provide the report on 8 November 2021. We shall also have reminded each other that The provincial head was appointed on the 1st of August 2020, which is the same date of her appointment as Deputy National Head, while the report was submitted on the 22nd of January 2020.
And continue, 92.
I have not been able to establish as to whether the meeting took place and requested the office to check the diary from the 22nd of January 2022 to the 30th of June 2022, as she was appointed as the Deputy National Commissioner on the 1st of July 2022. It cannot be established on physical diary and shall rely on her records.
So separate from the meeting, sitting here today, can you tell us whether 6.1 of the recommendation was implemented?
On page 28.
No, this during my time, it was not done during my time. So I know that they have done that later on, but not during my time.
So 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, there was no investigation to determine whether the DPCI members involved committed misconduct. Because that's what the recommendation is about. It's about discipline of the DPCI members, not the criminal investigation.
Yeah, about the rest of the members, I wouldn't know, because that is a line function which should have started in the province. About the provincial head that I could have instituted, that has not been done. It was not submitted to me that I should initiate disciplinary processes against the provincial head.
No, the recommendation is that somebody be appointed to investigate in terms of the SAPS discipline regulations to establish whether misconduct was committed in the handling and storage of the exhibits. So the question is 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, until you left in May 2025. Do you know if that was done?
From head office, from my office.
Because the recommendation was to you. So that's why I'm asking, do you know if that was done? Was there an investigation, internal investigation, to determine whether the DPCI officers involved, whether it's at the level of General Senona or below him, whether they were guilty of misconduct and should have been charged? Was there such an investigation?
To my knowledge, there wasn't, because I would have known when investigation is being done against the provincial head, because that will come to me. So that was not done. Nobody has suggested that the provincial head need to be investigated departmentally.
No, but this is what the recommendation says, that all those involved, there must be an investigation to determine whether they should be disciplined. That is the crux of 6.1. I hope I'm not being jacharach and getting ahead of where you are going. So
please read this out loud, Doctor.
That the national head appoint a senior functionary at the level of Major General to lead an investigation in terms of SAPS discipline regulation to establish whether misconduct was committed in the handling and storage of exhibits.
There. Now one of the last things you said was that if the provincial head had been disciplined, that would have come to your knowledge This says you should appoint a major general to investigate.
Yeah, that discussion shall have indicated, or why should I appoint a major general who is to be investigated? When you initiate an investigation, you inform those against whom the investigation is initiated. So in this regard, no identification was done as to who is to be investigated.
So you just left it at that?
Yeah, I think
So
that,
because the
as I
detail-
indicated, we should have, I'm not recalling as to whether we have ever said, as I directed the recommending officer that come and let's discuss this matter.
My challenge, Dr. Lebeya, is DPCI loses 541 kilograms of cocaine. And you send General Musikidi to assist with the investigation. And she recommends to you that a senior functionary be appointed by you to lead an investigation to establish whether DPCI members have committed misconduct. It's as simple as that. That's the recommendation to you. And you say, let's have a meeting. But if the meeting does not happen, nothing is going to happen to the DPCI members. There's not even going to be an investigation to determine whether they were negligent or grossly negligent, or if they did in fact steal the cocaine. So
If the investigation was to be done to the rest of the members, Commissioner, up to the brigadier level, it would take place there in the province. It will be done by the provincial head.
no, but the directive has to come from you, because if the provincial head is implicated, he cannot investigate himself and his team. If he's the one who made decisions, and you say now he must initiate the investigation, what interest would he have in initiating an investigation where he was the decision maker? That's why the recommendation is to you as the national head to initiate the process.
I'm not sure, Commissioner, if where the Commissioner is reading that, the provincial head is implicated. Because in other paragraph, it is the provincial head who must be providing progress reports.
No, but I think the debate with you now is you have instructed an investigation. You sent somebody to go and investigate. They come back to you with a report. And the first paragraph in that report says, you appoint a functionary to investigate that, and then it just dies there. All you do in that report is you say, let's discuss, and that's the end of the matter, when in fact, your functionary that you sent comes back to you with a report and says, you should appoint somebody. I think that's the discussion that is being had with you.
Yeah. I think that if we only separate that paragraph and deal with it separately, it would appear that nothing was being done. But here there are other paragraphs, including the continuous investigation, to determine what have actually happened. With regard to the discipline, if I have to appoint, it will mean that the provincial head is involved. And this discussion shall have indicated if the provincial head is suspected to be involved, then that is when I will issue those directive notices.
You would only know, Doctor, whether the provincial head was implicated in wrongdoing if you had instituted recommendation 6.1 which was the appointment of someone at the level of a major general to lead an investigation to establish whether misconduct was committed. At that stage, I don't understand that to be actually a disciplinary process. It's just to investigate. Does it look like misconduct was committed here? And once that person comes back to you with a report, is then that you will see whether, amongst others, the provincial head is also implicated in wrongdoing in the form of misconduct. So maybe let me ask this question. Did you reject recommendation 6.1 or did you accept it?
I did not reject 6.1 as I directed the author to come and discuss. In terms of application of the regulation, my understanding has been that to initiate an investigation, you must identify the person against whom the investigation is conducted.
That was going to be identified by the person at the level of a major general whom you would have appointed. That's the person who would identify all the people that that person thought had committed misconduct. That's the person who would do the identification. Or are you reading this differently? If so, on what basis are you reading it differently? Just look at 6.1 as I'm engaging you and tell me why it does not mean what I've just said to you.
My reading is that we are applying regulation 8 of the discipline regulation, and it have got a starting point. Where does one appoint? I have not seen anywhere where we'll appoint a commissioner, a person and say, come and investigate a departmental matter. We don't know who is implicated. Who do you give notice that there is this investigation? What I know is that we will investigate criminal leg of this. When evidence become available that indicate wrongdoing departmentally, then we can go into that other one. Now that we have identified wrongdoers departmentally, you can institute a departmental investigation.
So in your own mind, how would the wrongdoers be identified ultimately, if there were any? How would they be identified? Apologies that we appear to be probing at this stage. I guess, yeah, it was a simple question when it was asked of you by Commissioner Khumalo. But then follow-up questions became necessary. How would wrongdoers be identified?
In some states,
Short of just throwing up your hands in the air and basically doing nothing about this.
yeah. For me, when you put the investigation team criminally to investigate that, they will unearth what have actually transpired. If the members of the DPCI are found to be involved, those reports will trigger the initiation of departmental. Normally, even if it is the criminal investigation is handled at another unit outside the Hawks, the moment they identify the possibility of departmental contravention, they will report to the immediate supervisor of those members to consider departmental investigation.
Last question from me on this. So do I understand you to say that recommendation 6.1 was legally incompetent?
No, I do not say that it was incompetent.
If it was legally competent, then I still don't understand why you did not implement it. Anyway, that's, as I said, that's the last question.
I think we will come back to it because I know Advocate Ngube has her own way of dealing with it. But for now, the simple question was really, did you do anything about this? And the answer is you did not, because General Musikidi never had the meeting with you.
I will accept that one.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify? The General Musikidi report, did it not have names of people that were involved with the operation and the handling and the decisions about storage? Did it not have those kind of details?
I do not recall the nitty-gritties of the content of what it all mentioned, but it did not suggest as to who should we investigate in this disciplinary process.
Yeah, let me interrupt you, sorry. I accept when you say it did not say who should be in the disciplinary investigation. I was just asking whether she reported back to you in this report that so-and-so was in the operation, so-and-so was made the decision or authorized the decision to handle these goods, so-and-so authorized the decision to store them in Port Shepstone. I'm asking that kind of a simple question.
I can't recall the nitty-gritties in the report, but the members who performed several activities shall have been included.
Thank you, General.
I'm certain Ms. Sigals Nube will probably, at the stage of probing you, General or Doctor, will take us through that report and show us how, if at all, there were shortcomings in it insofar as, for example, issues of identifying possible culprits.
Thank you, Chair. General, you then deal with the remainder of that topic. You deal with the issues of security at the premises and the DPCI premises in general. But if I understood your evidence, you say you weren't aware that the drugs were even stored at Port Shepstone until they were stolen.
Yeah, that is what I can't recall.
So the purpose of putting this in your statement is really to highlight to the commissioners that security was an issue at the DPCI offices generally and that audits were conducted.
Yes, it is correct, Commissioners.
Okay. And you mentioned that on page 32, paragraph 101, that the recommendations to audit is an exercise that was already undertaken in July 2018. That recommendation is from the Musikidi information note. You say it was already undertaken in July 2018. And was that report available at the time when General Senona took office as the provincial head? Because this is in July 2018, if I understand your 101, and General Senona gets appointed in August of 2020.
I don't think this is referring to a national challenge. I don't think that he shall have been informed. We don't necessarily discuss nitty-gritties, but the fact that the problem of accommodation and the like is known, has been repeated in several forums. So whether you have known or not, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. Then on page 33, you deal with the allegations of corruption against Warrant Officer Carl Ronald Sander. And here it was really about the complaint that had been received by you on the 5th of February 2024 about Warrant Officer Sander at page 103. Can you deal with that?
Paragraph 103, I requested information kept by the DPCI to check the facts relating to Warrant Officer Carl Ronald Sander. I established that on the 5th of February 2024, at approximately 16:07, my office received an email at my official address, lebeya@saps.gov.za, copied to 2 other members. The head of the executive supporting my office attended to the email at 18:26, directing it to the provincial head of the DPCI in KwaZulu-Natal for attention and feedback by the 23rd of February 2024.
Then at 104, you deal with what the email contained. We've dealt with that already in previous evidence. Can we go to 105? You say that the allegations are of a serious nature and couldn't be ignored. You then asked General Senona to deal with it and provide feedback, correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
And then on page 35, you received the first report regarding this issue, and you're given an inquiry number. Now, you say that the officer attended to the matter and compiled this report, which was signed by the provincial head, and you say, I read the report and remarked as follows, noted, open a file, is this member attached to the walks? But you don't say what the report stated, the first report.
Yes, I did not state what the report stated, but I attached all the reports
To your
to
statement.
my statement.
Are those all the reports that's listed at 108?
That's correct.
Okay, so we'll have a look at that when we deal with cross-examination. Then if we can go to 109, you confirm that deal with what was the second progress report, which you endorsed on the 25th of April 2024, and then there were additional charges against Warrant Officer Sanda regarding non-disclosure of business interests.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay. Now, did you receive any report from General Senona or anyone regarding the initial allegations of corruption against Warrant Officer Sanda that established that there was indeed corruption?
Yeah, the report that they submitted was that they couldn't find the source of information, the person who was giving them information, so they did not confirm that allegation.
Okay. So then all that remained was the issue about non-disclosure of business interest.
That's correct.
Okay. Then if we can then deal with paragraph 111, page 36, the transfer of Warrant Officer Sanda. You would have, I don't know if you're aware of his evidence that he was transferred from SANAP to the support services, and he says it was because he was stepping on toes because of the drug bust that he was making at the time. I don't know if you heard that evidence of his.
I have heard about that evidence.
Did you have any involvement in his transfer to support services?
No.
Were you informed that he had been transferred?
No, Commissioner.
Okay, because in your statement you deal with a different transfer which never materialized, but that was for him to go outside of DPCI, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it doesn't relate to the one where he was transferred temporarily to support services while the investigation into the corruption allegations were ongoing?
No.
In any of the reports that General Senona had given you about that investigation, did he mention that he had moved the member away from SANAP pending the outcome of the investigation?
I don't have any report where he shall have reported that to me. What the office have provided to me, because I'm now not working in the office, there is none.
Okay. You speak in your statement about a transfer where the approval of the national head is required, so a member cannot move without your approval as the national head at the time.
That's correct, Commissioner.
But would that be the same for a temporary placement? So in this instance, Warrant Officer Sanda was transferred temporarily pending the outcome of the investigation.
No, that one is a disciplinary regulation. It's a movement in terms of disciplinary process. that the provincial head can do is line management, is temporary. It's not considered transfer in terms of the transfer policy.
Yeah, okay. Then we are on page 39, which deals with another topic, the involvement in the DPCI's investigation into alleged misconduct by Advocate Andrea Johnson. And really all that was required of you here was to confirm whether you would have met with Advocate Shamila Batoy, who was the NDPP at the time, regarding the allegations that were made against Advocate Johnson by Witness O, who we identify that person as Witness O, for providing a docket to General Khan where he was a suspect, and whether you would have had a meeting with Advocate Shamila Batoy to provide her with the statement by that witness and to request from her that a prosecutor be appointed to prosecute the matter.
I did meet Advocate Batoy.
And that would have been on or before the 2nd of September.
I think it's the 2nd of
Yes,
September.
the
There is a
2nd.
date, specific date that I
In
have
your
mentioned.
diary, in your physical diary, it does, you say it does say the 2nd of
The
September.
2nd of September, yes.
Yes.
The 2nd of September.
Yes. So you did meet her, you can finish that?
Yeah, I met her and gave her the statement as requested by Colonel Rulofse and conveyed the message of the request that he needed prosecutors to assist and to also look into that officer of hers departmentally.
And I know you probably don't recall, as you say at paragraph 130, you don't recall the nitty-gritty, but is it correct that you do recall that what you would have asked her was that your members have requested that a prosecutor, a senior prosecutor, be assigned to the matter?
The purpose of that meeting was solely to go and carry over the request that the members have made. So while I do not have the exact wording that we shall have used, but was to give that statement and indicate that they request a prosecutor to assist and departmental consideration of her member. So that is the two things that he wanted.
Did you, in that discussion with her, say to her that you shouldn't discuss this with Advocate Johnson, or did you just assume that common sense would dictate that she wouldn't discuss it with Advocate Johnson, who is an implicated person?
I have never dictated how to handle the matter with her personnel. In my view, if there is allegations against a member under my command, and I have got information, I can't be discussing with that member. So they have got their own rules, how they operate. I did not dictate.
It sounds as though I'm addressing what you said earlier, not now in response to the last question. It seems as though you did not yourself own what your members told you, because you say you went to Advocate Batoy and just conveyed what your members were saying and what their wishes were. And to me, it sounds as if you did not yourself necessarily see that there was substance, because if you saw that there was substance in what they were saying, you would have owned this and go there saying, this is what I have established based on what I got from my members, and here is what I propose, which would indicate that you yourself actually owned what your members have told you. Now you just say, I went to her and I told her that my members were saying and that they wished for this to happen. It sounds as if you did not own this.
It is correct, Commissioner. I don't own that one.
Is that because you saw no substance in it?
First, there was no investigation, criminal investigation. And if there was criminal investigation, it was to be registered at the station. And if it was to be registered at the station, the mandate would not have come to the DPCI, would have been handled by the detective service. And in case it was to be handled by the DPCI, if it was looked into and found that it requires the DPCI, those DPCI members would have come from Gauteng, Pretoria, and not Cape Town.
Why did you take it to Advocate Patoy then? Because it sounds as if you did not yourself see substance in it. Why did you take it to Advocate Patoy?
There was a request, Commissioner, by the members that here, the member from that particular office of the DPCI, this is what the member have done. So they have requested. I couldn't find reason to refuse and say, no, I can't do this one, go and do it yourself.
Yes, Mr. Gelson.
Can I just ask, when, why did you not have what you've just described now, that there should have been a case registered, there should have been an investigation by detectives, and that list that you gave? Why did you not discuss that with Colonel Rulofse when he comes to you and says, I want this to go to the NDPP? Why don't you say to him, if you did not, why don't you say to him, what do you want her to do? Obviously to prosecute, that's why he's saying to you, get a prosecutor. That process that you say should have happened, why do you not discuss it with him at that point?
It happens when the investigators just need to hear advice from the prosecutors, and he needed that advice. If he have indicated that he wanted to register a case for the investigation, I shall have directed that go and register the matter or advise the complainant to report the matter. Because under normal circumstances, it will not have come to that team that I have assigned to work at the IDEC. And the view that they wanted to assume that anything alleged against crime intelligence they will take, I would not have agreed with that. The nature of the crime that they alleged was defeating the ends of justice. I think when the commissioners look at the mandate of the DPCI, when it comes to the portion relating to defeating the ends of justice, that defeat must emanate from a case that actually is in the mandate of the DPCI.
I understand that explanation. My question is, why at that point you don't say to him that, but this doesn't, why are you, Rulofse, even looking at this and wanting to speak to a prosecutor about it? This is a matter that belongs in this process that you have described. It's one thing to say it now, that he should have done A, B, C, D, but in the moment when he comes to you, it's a live case as far as he's concerned. But you now tell us it was mishandled, and my question is, well, at that point, he comes to you because you are his superior. He's not talking to a friend. He's talking to the head of the DPCI, who is the liaison with NDPP, because he won't, I assume he can't go directly to Advocate Patoy. That's why he's coming through you. But now that you know, at that time, in the moment, that this is what he's dealing with, the question remains, at that point, why don't you engage him in the way that you're describing now, so that the matter could be redirected where it should have gone?
Colonel Rulofse is a senior officer who has been dealing with this kind of matters And many a case they have registered, where there is a need to register a case, they have caused that to be registered without first asking as to whether they can do this or that. In this, I understood that he is requesting that a prosecutor from the NPA can advise as to what should be done. If he have requested view from me, I would have advised that let the matter be registered at the station. And then it's either an inquiry or a docket be registered at the station. And if registered, it would not have needed the DPCI. It doesn't require the DPCI. It's not in the mandate of the DPCI. So I was facilitating to assist him with what he is requesting, that prosecutor look at what your officials are engaged in.
Thank you. Ms. Segal?
Thank you. And Colonel Rulof's concern and Captain McLean's concern was that they needed it to be a senior prosecutor, so they couldn't direct the request themselves, and that's why they came to you, so that you could speak to the NDPP, because they couldn't go directly to the NDPP, correct?
Captain McLean was not part of the discussion. He may have learned about it from Colonel Rulofs.
Yes, I'm saying when Colonel Rulofs comes to you, he's expressing a concern that because of Advocate Johnson's position as the head of IDAC, they wanted somebody, a senior prosecutor, to assist them.
Yes, to assist them in advising them of, because there was no case that they were investigating. There was no investigation that they were doing.
Yes, that's
Any
correct.
investigation would not have landed in that space where they had a specific mandate.
Yes, and that's why they then came to you. I'm agreeing with you that the request to you was a request that we don't know what to do, but we know that somebody senior needs to advise us here because of Advocate Johnson's position. It can't just go to a junior. That's why they approached you, because they wanted you as the head of DPCI to speak to the head of the NDPP, so to facilitate the appointment of a prosecutor that would be senior enough to take on the matter, whether it was to advise them or to open the case, to have a full investigation or not.
I will accept that.
Yes, thank you. Chair, that then concludes the evidence of Dr. Lebeya. We have arranged...
Concludes the statements.
The statement, yes.
Yes.
We have arranged a date, but we will... to a date to be confirmed, Chair. But between the legal representatives, we have secured a date.
Thank you, Ms. Sigels-Ngobe. Doctor, the hearing of your testimony is postponed to a date to be arranged. Let's adjourn and resume at 9:30 tomorrow.